Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Mike Malatesta. On this podcast, I dig in deep with every guest to get to the roots of their success, to discover not just how it happened, but why it matters. My mission is to expose the ideas and clues you need to inspire, activate, and maximize the greatness in you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the How Did It Happen podcast. I am so happy to have you here today, as I am with every episode. And today I have a special solo episode for you that was inspired by, I think it was a podcast I was listening to. And I heard someone say or ask this question, and it was, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And I have this little notepad in my car that I write things on, and I don't look at it while I write because I'm trying to drive. And so a lot of times it ends up being exceptionally sloppy because my handwriting is naturally exceptionally sloppy. So I got home and I was like, what was it that I wrote? And it took me a while, but it came back to me, and it was, this question, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And I started thinking about that because, in my book, I talk about, things that I don't really talk about them as if I gave them up so much, but they probably come across as things that I gave up. And as I was thinking about how I would answer that question now, it occurred to me that that may not be the question that I should start with. In fact, it ended up being the fourth question I felt like I should ask myself instead of the first one. And so it was a very interesting thought exercise, and I'm going to take you through it now. So again, starting with this sort of notion, like, someone will get up and go, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And I don't think you should answer that question until you answer a couple of questions in front of that. And the first one is, what do you want? The what are you willing to give up to get what you want is a great question, I suppose, if you know what you actually want. But I find that there's so many people, including myself, who are not sure about what they actually want. And until you become sure about what you actually want, and I don't mean that you have to be sure about what you want in your life forever, but if you're going to, be willing to give up something to get what you want, you certainly have to know what it is you want. And for me, when I've gone through those challenges before, it's always been good for me to figure out what I want and be able to describe it as specifically as I can. So, at a particular point, I want X. I don't have to justify why I want it. I think that's something you want to stay away from. There's no need to justify why you want something. I mean, who knows why you want something? You just want it. But knowing what it is and being able to describe it specifically is something I think you should answer before you think about giving up something for it. The second thing is, why do you want it? So, and as I just said, maybe it doesn't matter why you want it. But for some people, it may matter, why you want it, because you might think you want something and you start thinking about the why part of it. And you might start to, wonder, do I really want that? So why do you want it? I wouldn't get too hung up on that. If you just think you want it and you're not really able to answer the why, that's okay. Go ahead and do it. But if you are able to answer the why, I think it would help you with your clarity about the what and the next question, which is, how long are you willing to work or wait for it? So that's different than the what are you willing? It's how long. And in this sort of world we live in right now, at least for a lot of us, there's a lot of pressure for short-term thinking. Companies are evaluated on short-term thinking. We're evaluated on, how quickly we can respond to things. There's this expectation that anything you want, you should be able to get it, right now, through an app or through online or whatever. And um, the world really doesn't work that way for a lot of things. So how long, are you willing to work or wait and work to get it? I recommend that you think about that on a longer road perspective, like, at least a couple of years, unless what you're talking about wanting is something very small, but I'm talking about wanting in a bigger level, like wanting in my life or wanting in my business or whatever. I would recommend a longer term approach. Then the longer the better, because you don't really need the pressure of answering these questions in a time frame or achieving these questions in a time frame that's very short. And time can be a bitch, so if you tie yourself to a short-termism, it's very easy to disappoint yourself because it's hard to make the progress that you need to make on a short-term basis. And then the fourth question becomes, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? So that's the question we started with. And I think it's number 4 is the right position for that question, because there's a lot of things to think about when it comes to giving up. And you may even think about it in terms of, well, I don't want to give up anything. But here are a few things that, I find helpful to go through, and I've experienced when, going through this kind of exercise. Things that you can potentially have to give up. Well, time is certainly one of them. Money, relationships, happiness, sleep, balance, whatever that means, love, and there could be a whole list of other things that mean something in life. They matter, right? You can't just put everything aside in order to get what you want. So, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And how much of it, So the fifth one is who. Who do you need help from in order to get where you want to get to and do all the things that we just mentioned? Who do you need help from? I've always had a challenge with that because I've always felt like I'm my own who. But fortunately, as I've gained more wisdom over time, I've discovered that being my own who is really counterproductive. It actually doesn't help me get to where I want to get to as fast as I can, like getting help from someone who actually knows what I'm trying to do better than I do and can help me get there much faster. So just a short little solo here. If you get in a situation, you hear somebody say something like, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? I would encourage you to remember this and think, well, is that really the question I need to be starting with? Or should I start with other questions first? And I recommend you start with, what do you want? Why do you want it? How long are you willing to work or wait for to get it? Then what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And then finally, who can you get help from to help you get what you want? Once you're clear about, the number one, which is what you actually want, I think the rest of this starts to fall in line a little bit easier because when you know what you want, you can do a really kind of quick and dirty deep dive on what you're willing to give up in order to get it. So I hope that's helpful. I do thank you for joining me. And I hope that you take something from this that will activate and inspire the greatness in you. Until next time, make it a great day.
Podcast is brought to you by Wincheck Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.